Hey guys, Tyler Erzberger back at the helm for our 12-hour Valorant special leading up to the launch of the game, and oh boy, this next 45 minutes is going to be a good one. I am joined by my friends, the two of the lead developers on the game itself, Valorant. We have the executive producer, Anna Donlon. We have the game director, Joseph Ziegler. We have done this dance before, my friends. This is, I believe, our third or fourth interview together, but this is the day of all days. The launch is upon us. How do you guys feel?
So many emotions. So many emotions. Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for this moment for a really, really long time. And so, it's a lot of, I think excitement is one word, but I think just anticipation is probably the one I'm feeling the most. That kind of like weird anxiety you get just before something big's about to happen and you want it to go really well. And you're just like, got all your fingers and toes crossed that it's going to go well. That's definitely what's going on with me right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a mix. It's like a little bit anxious, a little bit like a little bit tired, definitely. Um, excited, very excited, obviously, because it's sort of like the realization of a long dream that we've had on the team is actually bringing this game to two players. So it's thrilling, it's exhausting, it's amazing, it's all those things all at the same time.
I can believe that you guys have not gotten a lot of sleep in the last 2 weeks leading up to this day. So I don't want to beat around the bush. We're not going to beat around the bush here. We're going to go straight into the things that the people want to know. Episode 1, Ignition. Tell us about it. What does this mean? What does episode mean? What does Ignition mean? What does it all mean? Please tell us. We want to know. What should we expect when the game launches in a few hours in South Korea and a lot of the Asian countries that are just waiting for this game? Tell us about the Ignition episode of Valorant.
Do you want to do this, Anna?
You can start, Joe. You can start this one. I'm still warming up.
So let's talk about episodes first, like
Yeah.
the concept of episodes. Like, so when we were starting, like early on this year, actually it was or late last year, I think, or maybe it was early last year. I'm losing all track of time, so I don't really know. But at some point, Anna and I were talking, and we were like, how do we want sort of the rollout of this game to go? How do we want to continue to service it in the future? And so part of it was this idea of releasing things in episodes where we can mark off a period of time to say, hey, this is sort of the thing we're trying to accomplish during this period of time. These are sort of the beats that we have inside of it. And then when we move on to the next episode, we can talk about a shift of how we want to do those beats and how we want to change things up. And it gives us the opportunity to really cut up our delivery mechanisms in ways that really continuously let the game evolve. So our first offering of that is episode 1, Ignition. You can talk about Ignition, Anna, if you want. The title, the concept.
The concept of Ignition. Well, I mean, obviously, it stands for our launch, right? Like Ignition. Like, I actually sent a video around to the team today of like with the NASA launch VO in the background, and like when they yell out Ignition, like that is that moment for us. It's like our first step out there beyond closed beta into our full worldwide launch, to see how this goes and how this journey with players goes. So for us, this moment, this first episode is all about introducing ourselves to our community, growing that community, listening to that community, and just going for it. And that's what that Ignition is supposed to stand for. And then there'll be some cool CGs come in and some cool stuff coming that'll also help tell a bit more of that story over the coming days.
So these episodes, are there going to be like story beats? Is it going to be a thing of like there's going to be an ongoing narrative where each episode kind of tells the story developing, or is it just kind of like phases and we're going to get like pieces, or is it going to be a continuing story that's starting with episode 1 and continuing on as more agents and maps are added to the game? The story will build as well.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Joe.
Right over you.
I mean, I think that is like, I think the plan is to continue to evolve the game and the story over the course of these episodes. We debated internally whether or not to call them seasons. I think seasons is very charged. I think there's a lot of expectation built up across different games of what to expect in a season. So we didn't want to anchor ourselves too hard on a list of bullet points that people expect to see in a season, because an esports season might look slightly different. And so for us, it's just how will the game evolve over time in like big chunks. Each episode should feel like an evolution of the game in some way, whether that's content drops, feature updates, new features. Each episode should bring something new to the table for players to experience.
Also, that narrative will be building as so episode 1 will tell a story, episode 2 will tell a story. So the people who are for the narrative side, who like the characters and the world itself, we're going to get a lot of lore coming through each of these episodes.
I think at first you're going to see in episode 1 we're a little bit lore light, and that's just because a lot of it is we're introducing you just to the agents in the world. We really want to focus on be able to play these characters. Where are they from? What are sort of like the things that exist about them? So you won't see necessarily a direct story beat there, but we plan definitely as we add more episodes to actually sort of encompass that and draw that towards a sort of background narrative, one that can be told alongside the game, that you can really feel something amazing there.
So let's talk about this Ignition episode. What should we expect story-wise and introduction-wise, and what kind of cool concepts and new things are getting thrown into this episode that we have not seen in the beta stuff thus far?
So I think okay. Let's see. So from a creative standpoint, I think you're going to see our launch cast, which is going to be there, which is the 11 agents that we have there. I also think you're going to see like a little bit of our evolved marketing materials that are coming on tomorrow, which are going to be pretty fun to witness. We've seen them already. We've been watching them for the past 2 weeks. Awesome. And that'll begin to introduce you a little bit into some of the stories. As you'll notice, like really, it's going to be focused on the idea of who are these agents in this group called VALORANT, and sort of what do they do in the world. Now, it's going to be a little bit mysterious because we're not really very much like a storytelling type game. Like at first, we're very much a PvP kind of focused game, but we definitely are prepping things in the background that we're going to be evolving over the course of this episode. So you'll see. Anna, anything?
I've got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got blurry again.
So let's talk a little about, Reyna, the 11th agent that will be added to the Ignition episode. Already, we kind of know her kit. Morello, one of the lead character designers on the team, has already come out and said she's a feast or famine character. I remember you, Joe, in one of our conversations said she was going to be a very spicy and polarizing agent. So can you delve into why she's going to be so polarizing and spicy for everyone who's going to pick her up when the game launches tomorrow?
She's extremely. So I think fighting against her, you're going to feel a lot of emotions based on how good the other person is. She is somebody who can snowball through a fight really easily. So if she takes out the first person, she becomes more powerful. Takes out the second person, becomes more powerful. And as a result, that creates that feast or famine kind of scenario where if a really skilled player is coming across a group that they know how to divide and conquer really well, she will take over that entire scenario and become very strong. If the person playing Reyna is unable to capitalize on those situations, then they're probably going to feel really unprepared for the situation, if that makes sense. And so her abilities are very much based on taking out a person, utilizing their life force to create advantages for herself.
Were there any inspirations for the Reyna character? Were there any, what kind of started this creation of this agent? Was who or go on?
It was very much like the idea of vampires are cool. We started with the idea of how do we make a vampire that feels realistic and interesting inside of our world, or like sort of more realized inside of our world? But we didn't want to go with the classic like blood-sucking vampire in that sense. We really wanted to go with something that was like, how is it tied into the power source of the world? How, like this concept of radianite, things of that sort, and how does it use those powers to really kind of create an advantage in the space as opposed to kind of just sucking life force? It's like, how does she take that life force or that energy and turn it into power as she goes along?
One thing a lot of the chat's talking about right now is the battle pass system that I know you guys have talked about at length. Will there be a battle pass on launch? Can you talk a little bit about the battle pass with the episode 1 of Ignition?
Yeah, there will definitely be a battle pass. And I think, I don't know, the battle pass was one of those things that I think we knew we wanted to do. I think we started working on it. I don't want to say late. We didn't start working on it late, but we just its evolution went right up until the end, like right up until the very last second. The content being developed for it, the concept behind it, how we were going to present it, all of those things were like coming in right up to the edge. And we were in a team meeting last week on Friday, and the producer of the battle pass and the content in the battle pass, like she walked us through the entire thing, and we were all just like, whoa, like players are going to love this. And I think we always wanted to create something in our battle pass that would provide players with a ton of content that they could earn, that would really reward them for their time and their investment, but that would feel really connected to the world. That would give them tons of different ways to express themselves. But we were throwing the kitchen sink in there for a while. And then all of a sudden what came out of it was something we're really, really proud of. There's a bunch of exclusive content in it. I think there's weapon skins in it, like spoilers. I think it's a very, very good and cool battle pass.
Adelaide 35 in the chat asked, I think this is a question a lot of people are going to ask, you built it up so much. How much is the battle pass?
Amazing.
How much will the battle pass be when the game launches, Anna? Please tell us what we can spend on this battle pass to get all this amazing features in the game. I
feel like I know, and then I feel like I'm going to say it, and then someone's going to slack me with like what are you talking about, lady? It's 1,000 Valorant points. Yes, Joe, 1,000? Is that right?
I should probably confirm that though.
We should probably $10 is what I'm hearing. Yes, $10 entry fee into the battle pass. Also, like the free pass as well. If you just want the free experience through it. But yeah, $10 to get into the battle pass.
Not bad. So exclusive weapon skins, all that coming with the battle pass. Talking a little about the weapon skins. I know we've talked about this a little bit before, that the store when the game launches is going to be entirely different than the beta in terms of what's being offered. They're not going to be any of the beta skins in the game, at least to start out with. What can we expect from the store when the game launches? What kind of skins can you tease us with?
Ooh, tease. That's a tough one. I think we might actually keep that a surprise. You'll see when Korea goes live, or later today. I think you'll see a lot of those screenshots go live. I think we just want to keep it a fun surprise for everybody. There's some really cool stuff in there though, and there will be even more cool stuff as these next following weeks come online. So it'll be exciting.
So
I've already got earmarked which ones I'm gonna like insta buy already. So I know.
And for those of you who like super cute things, there is a super cute gun buddy in the past that I can't get enough of. It brings me joy and glee every time I see it. It's just beautiful.
All right, I'm gonna hold you out to that. It better be cute, or I'm gonna be very upset with you, Anna.
I mean, I think it's cute.
All right. So talking a little about, everything that's going to come in the next day or so. So South Korea is getting the game along with a lot of other Asian countries, I believe Oceania as well, in a few hours. The cinematics that are going to kind of kick off this entire, game and like the kicking off the episode 1 ignition, are those going to come out right as Korea gets the game? Are they going to come out before NA, before Europe? When can we expect those cinematics to, come out into our the virtual world, so to speak, and for us to, devour the content that's going to be coming out in the next day or so?
Yeah, I believe the plan for that is right when the final phase of the launch kicks off. So we don't want players to get that content and then not be able to play the game immediately. So we're going to wait until everyone's in, and then once everyone's in, we'll be kicking off that content. So 5 a.m. June 2nd Pacific time, when everybody should hopefully, fingers crossed, be in the game. That is when that content will kick off.
Awesome. And speaking of more of the launch content, the day of, and there's all this excitement. Another question being asked in the chat is about patch notes. Will there be patch notes coming out? Because I know you guys did say there will be fixes and changes and tinkerings of agents and maps and other things going into the launch. Will there be patch notes coming out for the launch of this game?
Very large and extensive patch notes will be coming out at the launch of the game.
Very long patch notes.
Yeah, they'll be coming out in a few hours actually, like in advance. Yeah, like right ahead of the Korea Asian Pacific launch. So yeah, they're coming. Everyone will be studying all day.
I know, just reading text. There's lots of text.
Yeah, they're being localized right now. That's the thing about patch notes, honestly. Like, I think aspirationally, we would love to be able to get patch notes out like ahead of things. But we're usually down to the wire putting fixes into the game, and then those patch notes have to get localized into languages all around the world. And so there's always a delay. So I think over time, we're hoping we can get them out a little sooner. We know players like to consume them before they start playing the patch. But these ones are definitely coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
Another question from chat, and something that I've also been very much curious about and I've really wanted in the game is from Trap. He's asking, he or she's asking, what about stats? They want stats. They want to know, your profile level. They want to know how good are you on breach, on split? What's your split win rate? Are we going to have, when the game launches, are we going to have more stats to, dive into to show us what agents we're good at? What maps are we good at? Are we going to have that level of statistical data that we can dive into, or is that something that is going to come on later on as the game progresses?
That's probably going to come on later as the game progresses, and you'll see why. It's going to be more relevant to
I was watching all that build up from you, and I knew what Joe was going to have to answer, and I was like, poor Joe.
No,
like you're like, are we going to have it? And Joe's like, not at launch.
as you can tell in the post game screen, like for the post game sort of screens that we have, we do care a lot about the idea of being able to deep dive your stats, understand what happened inside of a game, things of that sort. A lot of the background stat systems where we aggregate that stuff is actually not ready yet, but we are collecting them. We want to be using them to be meaningful to you, not just to give you stats. So there's features that are coming online in a bit later that are going to actually utilize that to be a lot more meaningful for you.
Yeah, we are definitely working on some API support for third-party sites as well. So you'll be seeing those things coming online over the course of that first launch period.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit more about Reyna, Joe or Anna, for, because a lot of the chat's looking at Reyna. You're talking about the feast or famine, 1v5 character that you can get one kill, you're going to get all the kills. I bet a lot of the chat's thinking, I'm going to be a Reyna main. I'm going to play Reyna. I'm going to destroy, these nerds in these, low ranks. I'm a, king or queen of Reyna. What kind of tips would you give one of these, these lowly chat players who want to, go into the game and stomp on Reyna? What tips do you have for these future Reyna mains?
I think, honestly, the way you approach Reyna is similar to the way you'd approach Jet, I'd say, is that you can't just run into a group of 5 and expect to win. You definitely have to bait them into the traps that you're going to be setting for them. And I think you have to really be thinking about, how do I divide and conquer more than anything else? Dividing and conquering is probably the biggest thing that she does, or that you can do well with her if you're really good at it. So instead of taking on 2 groups of 2 at a time or 1, just try to split them up as much as possible through clever baiting, through dividing the space up as much as you can, and then you'll see your power continuously increase as you go along. So it's a pretty strong character for people who really, really have strong map awareness and game state awareness. So.
From the newest agent in the game to the newest map in the game, I believe it's called Ascent. You can confirm or deny that. It's set in Venice. We know that it's the oldest map in the game. You guys told me that a few weeks ago in an interview we had. Let's talk about Ascent. What kind of map is it? What's the gimmick? Because we know every map in Valorant has to have a little bit of a gimmick to it to make it different from everything else. We can finally talk about it, hopefully. So let's talk about Ascent.
But you call gimmick, we call gameplay mechanic. Gameplay mechanic.
The gameplay mechanic of,
trivial. Let's see. For us, let's talk about Ascent a little bit. Ascent takes place in a Venice-like city in Italy. You'll notice
inspired by some city in Italy.
It is our oldest map, which is pretty crazy because for the longest time we had this map. There was a prototype map that we played that back in the day used to be called Market, and we changed it over the course of time, and through different iterations of where we took our creative space and through tons of testing, we turned it eventually into Ascent. And that map was it originally meant to be our baseline map. The idea of a 3-lane map that was very straightforward. There are some interesting mechanics on it, though, which have to do with opening and closing and cutting off paths. And you'll see those things come live. I won't talk about all the specifics of how that works right now, but you'll see that there are mechanics that actually have to do with closing off certain secondary paths onto the actual sites, the bomb sites. And so it'll be fun to see how people utilize it.
So the gameplay mechanic, not gimmick, of Ascent is that there will be ways to cut off paths and kind of close and open doors or areas where it makes it easier or harder to re-enter or enter a site, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Right. And so a lot of it will be about that timing of when do I want to use it, close it off? How do I use this thing to close it off? What sort of situations do I want to keep it open? Or those are going to be the questions you're going to be asking yourself as you play the game.
what kind of players do you think are going to like Ascent? Because obviously, I think every map has some, Split has a lot. Split's pretty polarizing. I did a Pro Confidential. I asked the players, which maps do you like to play on? Haven and Bind both got 85% acceptance rates. The pros like playing on those maps. Split's got a 41% acceptance rate. So, Split, not the most favorite map of the pros, but what kind of players, Joe and Anna, do you expect to favor Ascent and really like the style of the map?
It's different, definitely different from the other three in the sense where the other three, I think. So if you were to talk about like sort of the different pieces of the other three, Duality really focuses on dual lane entries into sites, but they're there's no mid, there's no like sort of traditional mid. I think when you think about Split, it's really about a very heavy focus on sort of split entries, but those split entries really have to do with like this split mid concept where you have like A tower and B tower. And then if you look at Haven, it's really about sort of defender distribution and how you manipulate that. I think for this map, it's going to be for those traditional, have that strong, like sort of snipe game in mid, and then have that sort of push game on the sites. So there's going to be a lot more for that type of player. So I'd say the closest parallel I was thinking about is Duality because it's a break and enter map. It's that kind of feel to it, but it's definitely different. So I look forward to seeing it. I actually think it's one of my favorite maps, so I'm really excited to be playing it online. Yeah.
Nice. So we talked about the new agent, Reyna from Mexico, a vampire like no other. We have Ascent, a map with gameplay mechanics where you can close and set off, open
I'll never
doors
live that down.
or close off entry points. But we got to talk about the other thing. The other new thing coming to the game to change the gameplay of Valorant is the game modes. You've hyped it up. You've talked about this, secondary beta. You have to put in quotation, beta mode. This is experimental. The second game mode of Valorant that's supposed to be more fun and fast paced than the more tiring and serious game mode that is competitive. What is this new game mode? If you can tell us, what can you tell us about this new game mode? We all want to hear it. We all want to know what the new game mode is.
We'll talk about some stuff, but I don't know if I want to. I don't want to spoil it too much for everybody. But basically, our goal for creating this new game mode was really the idea of you go through these long, stressful sessions. What do you play in between if you just need to cool off? Let's say you had a really bad game and you want to cool off and you just want to have a fun social experience with a few friends, pull them in, have a quick experience just so you can actually chill a little bit. That's sort of what we actually focused it on. We didn't want to make it too different from what the core game is like. And so it takes some of those concepts, but twists them a little bit in terms of actually adds a few different things and shortens the game length a lot. So really the goal of that game mode is just go in, try some new stuff out, have a little bit of fun, see what you get out of it, and then kind of go forward that way. I know both Anna and I have played it. I know Anna really enjoyed it last time she played it. She didn't enjoy the first time she played it. I'll say it that way.
I did not. You are sharing personal information. Yes, I did not enjoy it the first time I played it. We did make some changes. The last time I played it, I very, very much enjoyed it.
Exactly. So we're looking forward to seeing a lot of people sort of just jump into it for a more fun social time.
What would you say the average game time is for this new game mode?
It's like 8 to 12 minutes, like
Yeah,
somewhere between 8 and 12. Yeah.
Can we get the title? Can we get the title of the game mode? You don't tell us all about it, but is there a title that you can give us?
Yeah, we sure. For theory crafting, it's called Spike Rush.
Oh, okay. So that's been rumored that Spike Rush might be the name, but we can confirm it here on the Valorant, the ESPN exclusive at the ESPN
exclusive. You got game
Spike
dynamics, game
mechanics,
game mechanics. Game mechanics. You got game mechanics and Spike Rush.
We can also confirm that the battle pass is $10. 10,000.
Yeah, look, breaking news.
Another exclusive here on the 12-hour ESPN Valorant kickoff launch special. $10 for the battle pass when the game launches all around the world, coming today and tomorrow around the globe. Another question. Talking about that, there's staggered starts. I know a lot of people are going to be like, me, I'm from Los Angeles, I'm a plebeian, I'm gonna have to wait till 5 a.m. tomorrow as the rest of the world plays the game and be sitting alone watching all the beautiful gameplay all around Twitch, Afrika, and all these other streaming websites. Why would the stagger start? I'm guessing because of the servers, but can you talk a little bit more about why you picked the stagger start?
Yeah, we have to be really careful with this launch. We have to make sure that we can get stability on one set of servers before we start to introduce another set of servers. There's still just one group of humans that need to support all of those players as they come in. And we want, if we let everyone in the floodgates and everyone immediately started to hit any kind of hiccups, it's going to be a lot quicker to resolve any hiccups one region at a time as they come online. So I think, hopefully not huge hiccups, but things happen. So we kind of, treated it like, when are different regions coming online into their June 2nd morning. And we went that way geographically across the globe. And also, we've got our developers are all like, we have people all around the world ready to support this game, but our headquarters is in Los Angeles, and I need to make sure that my team is ready to also support those players as they're coming online at all those different time zones.
Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the real focus of it is, we're starting a marathon here. So for us, it's actually making sure that as we start a marathon, we're doing it at the right time for each region to do that. So it's not just us in LA as well. It's also our regional offices that are standing up at the time. We want to make sure everybody's well equipped to actually get that started. And of course, as it's rolling out, like Anna said, really the key thing is making sure that we don't try to focus on everything all at the same time, but we leave a little bit of time to focus on each piece as we go along to make sure that all the things are buttoned up as we're going across the world. So it's kind of cool to look at the graph though, because really what we're doing is just following the sun as it's coming across the globe, starting in APAC or Asia Pacific area.
I'm looking at the chat, and there's one thing that a lot of people are talking about right now. Joe, on your head, you got that pretty little Valorant cap. A lot of people are demanding in the chat, where's the merch? When's the merch coming? When can I get that hat? Give me that hat now. I mean, I might have, asked about the hat before we even started this conversation where I can get the hat. I mean, the hat looks nice. I think one of the game's strength is its aesthetic and its stylish, demeanor. The Phoenix jacket, a lot of people are asking about that. People want to look like Jet. People want, even Cypher's hat. People want the merchandise. You got the merchandise on your head, Joe. Can you tell us when we can get some of this merchandise that you obviously already have created? So we must know.
So actually, this is more swag than merchandise than anything else. So this was actually a gift from the Riot Korea office back to us for some of the work that we did with the closed beta over there. But we are working on merch. We're talking about it daily. I don't think we're going to have much ready for launch at merch, but we are definitely excited to be bringing a lot of the merch live. As you know, I've talked about before, I want a flame jacket. Those things are really cool, like Phoenix has. But
it just sounds so dangerous. It just sounds so dangerous, Joe.
You burn your own neck. It's just, but I think we're actually looking forward to showing you what we have with the merch. Our goal with the merch, by the way, is going to be giving it that sort of same brand styling, but a little bit more of that premium feel as well. We really want to make sure that the stuff that we create is going to feel really quality and great for players.
Yeah, and I think, what's really been interesting is like we have in our minds which characters we might focus on, or which maps we might focus on, or what content we might focus on when we think about merch, or is it just our branding, our logo, those types of things. But really we want to hear from the community. We want to see like what is the community toward, like kind of gravitating towards, so that we make sure that the merch we put out resonates really nicely with them. So we definitely have things in the works. We will have merch for sure. But where we kind of go with it, I would love to have that conversation with players. And if you all want to burn your necks, backs of your necks and backs with Joe, we'll get those flame jackets made for you. Personally, I think shoes. I love the shoes in our game. Like I think the shoes are pretty fly.
The shoes are pretty awesome.
The Phoenix jacket may or may not be on the way. Is that another exclusive here that the flame jacket might be in production?
I think it is safe to say that it. Yes, I think it is safe to say that it may or may not be happening.
Right. Exclusive right here, may or may not be happening. Another question I found in the chat, and I think this is very interesting. Hopefully, maybe you guys can be a little bit more teasing. Maybe you'll give us another exclusive right here on the 12-hour ESPN ESPORTS Valorant kickoff launch special. They're asking about how this game is global. This game is very global. You have a lot of global agents. America, Mexico with Reyna. We have Sweden with Breach. They want to know what other countries are coming. You don't have to tell us the agents. You don't have to tell us anything about them. But can you give us a little tease of what other countries might getting some agent love coming on in the coming months or years? I mean, come on. I mean, this is the kickoff special. We've had so many exclusive. Can you give us a country or two of an agent that you guys are working on?
No. No.
But what I can say is that, generally speaking, I mean, like, we are trying to cover the globe, and so we're going to be going to places that you haven't seen already. So new countries you haven't seen already is probably a pretty safe bet.
So we're not going to have like 20 American agents. No more American agents, essentially. So
No.
I mean,
Okay.
maybe 40 years from now.
Yeah, maybe
Alright.
we'll go back
but
around.
not in the short term. No.
All right, so we get Viper and Brimstone. That's all we're going to get for a very long time. All right, Viper's cool. Brimstone, I can take or leave him, but, you know.
Oh, Brimstone's awesome. I love Brimstone.
Have you seen him dance?
Yeah, I have. It was actually very, very well made GIF. Very well made GIF there. So I want to, with the last 15 minutes here, I want to kind of dive into a bit of a confidential I did with the pros of Valorant. I talked to some top ranked pros around from North America and Europe. I sent them out an anonymous survey, basically let them an answer anonymously so they can answer their full content. They don't have to hold back. On the good side, we can say I asked them, the final question was, how would you rate Valorant going into the full launch? How would you rate the beta? And so from an A to F stature, I can say that 61% of them said B was the highest. There's some issues, but a B. 25% said A, and the lowest anyone gave it was a C. So a very, very good grade for you guys. You got a very good, from the pros, a thumbs up for the beta.
Awesome.
Well, that feels good. I like A's.
Yeah.
that feels good.
We're be very self-critical, but I will say betas are places where Bs are excellence.
Yeah, I feel good about those grades.
Things, so
I do.
Thank you to everybody who voted. That's all.
Going. We started with the good things. Now we've got to go to the things that we got to dive into a little bit more. the critiques of the game. That's why it's on A, but a B. I asked them.
Why do we have to do that? Why don't we just end it on a nice? I heard B+, and we can just let's just move.
Because you wouldn't tell me what the countries where the new agents are from. That is why. So
okay. This is our penance. Okay.
This is your penance. So I asked them, how would you rate the current rank system in Valorant? The rank system, a very polarizing system that was brought into the game about a month or a half ago. 2% said it was great. So 2%, great, perfect, awesome. 2% said great, 11% good, 28% said indifferent, 43% said bad, and 17% makes me not want to play ranked. So, pretty bad when it comes to the ranked. But then I had another question asking, would you add a leaderboard and solo queue/duo queue system to the game? And by far, 80% of players said pro players said they want a solo/duo queue and a leaderboard system. So obviously this leads into the conversation of ranked. Ranked won't be up on launch. Will there be major changes to ranked when it comes out? Will we get the leaderboard? Will we get the solo/duo queue? Please tell us about ranked.
Oh man, I feel like I'm thrown in the controversy pit. Let's see.
Why would you feel that way, Joe?
There will be some adjustments to ranked as it goes into live. There's going to be additional sort of feature support for it. We will not have solo duo queue, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we're going into it. And then what was the last thing? Leaderboards. Leaderboards we are currently looking into. We don't know if they'll be ready immediately at launch, but it is something we want to support. The idea of at least the problem set of how do we make it more granular at the top? Because I think really it boils down to, once you get into Valorant, you want to know that there's sort of like some sort of like way you chase the ladder at the Valorant level to understand where you sit on it. Or now that it's not called Valorant anymore, that level. So let's get back to solo duo queue. So two things that we want to make sure that are solved are the idea of, how do we make sure solo and duo players, or even small group players, are getting in and getting fair matches? That we're definitely always tweaking and tuning towards, So that's like the idea of, I'm not always getting put against 5 stacks. I'm not always feeling like that being put against 5 stacks is a bad thing, What's interesting is that it's very much an experiential thing. When we looked across all of our data, as we collected it throughout the entire course of beta, the actual difference of performance between a solo versus a 5 stack versus like a small group versus a 5 stack or anything of the sort actually wasn't that much of a difference. It's much more of a perceived problem, especially because most people don't actually know if they're being put against a 5-stack. They just assume based on the level of coordination that they see on the other side of the team. So what we don't want to do ultimately is we don't want to make it bad for people to play together. And not making it bad for people to play together, making it good for people to play solo can make it really bad for people to play together. And I'll give you an example why. Let's say X percentage of your queue ends up sitting inside of like solo queue, and you have like 80% inside of solo queue. Then you end up with this 20% of group of people who are no longer incentivized to play together in flex or even in fives because of the fact that their queue times get super long and their queue experience gets really bad because their match health gets really bad because there's not enough people there. What we want to do is find a way that everyone, both solos and duos, feel like it's a fair system, as well as fives, when they're inside of one space. And so we're looking at things like ensuring more on the level of groups get matched against groups, that we have a lot more of those going on. So give us some breathing room. We really want to make sure that it's a great experience, and we're going to keep iterating to make sure it's as good as we possibly can.
Good answer. I can actually agree with some of that. I mean, I do think some of the pro players would enjoy more of that solo duo in the high ranks, but from the data you have, and I'm sure if the data changes, you will act accordingly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another thing I saw in chat from Blurry Raccoon 14, another really major issue that even I saw a lot during the beta is, will there be a surrender button for 4v5s or 3v5s? There was a plethora of leavers and AFKers during the beta. Will there be a surrender button or an FF at -0 0 to 8, kind of similar to League of Legends, where you can FF at 15? Will there be a surrender button in the game?
I'm going to take this one because I get to say some good news. There will be, but not immediately.
Not fair.
Will be, but not immediately at launch, but it will be soon after launch. We're going to have a surrender feature that's going to be
very soon after launch. Yeah.
But there's actually two problems there that I want to cover. One is that AFK punishments, we've actually gotten a lot more severe on AFK punishments. So we've seen a lot less AFKers actually, which is really awesome in terms of overall play data. But we want to make sure if that actually happens inside of a game, that somebody, that a team can sort of take agency of that situation and be able to figure out if they want to play out the rest of the match. So we are definitely looking into delivering that soon after launch.
Awesome. Another question that I've had a lot of people ask me about, and I'm sure a lot of people from this region will be asking because they are not included in the worldwide launch, and the biggest region when it comes to League of Legends, China. I know we've talked about this before, that the regulations and everything is a lot more difficult when it comes to that region when approving a game with the government and all that. Can you give us any words about China? When it could get the game? How are you guys working through the regulations? Do you believe the game will be accepted in China? What's the current status of China and Valorant?
It's a really hard one to answer, without crossing certain lines that I don't feel like I'd be comfortable crossing. I think what I feel like we can say, though, is that we are very excited to bring the game to China. It's always been a huge goal of ours to bring the game to China. It was a big piece of our global picture, when we thought about who around the world do we think would love this game. We're really excited to see what it's going to do there. We're working really closely with Tencent on figuring out how we can deliver it as soon as possible. It's a little bit out of our hands, but we are working very, very closely with Tencent right now to see how soon can we bring Valorant to Chinese players, because I'm really excited to see what they do with this game. I'm really excited, just like in every region, it's been fun to see how different players take to the game. China's a big part of our story that we're not going to be able to tell today, but I'm hoping we can tell pretty soon.
So China, we've talked about range, we've talked about a lot of things. Another issue that people had in the Pro Confidential is the act of Vanguard disconnections, where you're going to boot it out of the game and you have to either reboot your computer or reboot the game to get back into the ongoing match, or FPS drops, which a lot of people were talking about how they've been experiencing FPS drops. Well, I know we've talked about this before. Will there be fixes to those issues for launch coming out today and tomorrow around the world?
So let's talk about the FPS drops first. We've actually done a lot of work on the performance side. We should actually be seeing a lot of performance game back, which is great. We're not completely done yet because we want to continue to improve combat performance, which can have not like major drops, but some drops as it goes along the way. And we're going to continue to actually improve those in the following few patches to go after. Basically, we want to be absolutely silky smooth, and right now it might be a little bit of a wave, and so we're going to make that happen over the course.
But I think
baseline performance is going up way majorly high.
Yeah, I mean, I think our goal is I think we went out of the gate out of the closed beta with really strong performance, and we were really excited about what we were seeing there. And then I think over the course of a few patches, as we were putting more and more into the game, we started to see that kind of degrade over time in a way that players definitely noticed. We were very uncomfortable with it, and we worked really, really hard to get it at least on par with that beginning of closed beta experience, if not slightly better than that. And like Joe said, it's something we're going to continue to hammer on until we feel like it's in a perfect place or near perfect place. Nothing's ever perfect. I will say that Joe wouldn't let us launch this game until he felt comfortable with it. So I mean, he was definitely, this was not a, hey, wouldn't it be nice if performance were in a better place? Like for us, it was something we took quite seriously and was one of our big check boxes for feeling ready.
So on the other side, the Vanguard stuff, we've actually stabilized a lot more, added a lot more stabilizations to Vanguard, so it shouldn't have many frequently disconnecting scenarios. And I know the Vanguard anti-cheat team basically make sure that feature is feeling really good for launch, so we should see a lot of improvements there. Now, if anything, of course, occurs, we will hop on it as soon as possible and try to find a fix for it.
We'll have a few more minutes left before I have to let you guys go, because I know you have a lot of things to do today. You have a game launching in a matter of hours in South Korea. Very busy day for you guys. I have two more questions. One of them is something dear to my heart as an esports writer. The esports writer is the Spectator Mode. I've been very open about my thoughts about how not great the Spectator Mode was by the end of the beta. As you know, you guys are launching with the Twitch Rivals tournament. There's going to be a lot of eyes on the esports side of the game come tomorrow. Is the Spectator Mode change? Is there changes coming if there's not? What can you tell us about the Spectator Mode?
So there's a few bug fixes inside of the Spectator Mode, which would be nice for launch. I will say that it's not complete. We are definitely going to keep hammering at it as we go along, because there's things that there's still some issues we haven't gotten to inside of the current Spectator Mode. But additionally, there's features that we're working on with the esports team to actually make sure that broadcast in the future looks good. I will say that we didn't plan for our game to be broadcasted as much as it is currently, so we're catching up to the need at the current time. But we have plans moving into the future, especially into the next few sort of beats inside of this episode, that will help to improve this what we call the observer experience.
No, just that I think that this is it's a feature that's coming on probably later than people want it, but one that we're planning to invest quite a bit into. We really want the act of watching this game to be just as exciting as playing it, and we're not there. We're not there yet. So it's something that we're very focused on figuring out, like what is the bar we want to hit, and I think we have to align on that. We're definitely moving forward on making progress, but I think we need to figure out what is the bar we want to hit, and I think we're realizing it's even higher than what we thought it was, not just because of what we're hearing from players, but because what we want for our players. So yeah, it's something we're going to invest a bunch into.
When we launch the game today, tomorrow, wherever we are in the world, we're going to be playing the game. When we open it up, will there be UI changes? Is it going to feel like a new game, or is it going to feel a lot like we left in beta with some extra additions to it?
I think it will feel more polished. I think it felt. I think we played the final build last week, just to kind of remind ourselves of like, what are we putting out there into the world? And I think we were surprised and delighted by just how much work can get done over the course of a 2-month closed beta. And I think players are in store for some pretty cool updates. I don't want to spoil them. I think that there's one in particular. We'll see. You can get back to me if you knew which one it was, but I think
which is a really good feature.
There's one particular UI feature improvement that I think players are going to be really excited about, but we'll see. But I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there because you went deep on ranked, so I'm stopping.
Oh man, it's not me. It's the pros. The pros said this.
It's the pros. It's your chat. You're just
pros.
You're doing it for them. I get it.
All right. We had a very entertaining, a lot exclusive in this last hour, talking to the developers on our 12-hour ESPN ESPORTS Valorant kickoff special going into the launch of the game. So finally, you two, we've talked a lot. We've teased, we've talked, we've had exclusive. Going into the launch, can you give us some final teases to the fans, to the chat? What can you tease us about the launch? What can you give us, the final send-off from you guys to tease us as we get so excited as the hours tick down to the official launch of Valorant?
I can see Joe's like scanning his brain, like, is there anything?
Exactly.
Is there anything that we can say?
I mean,
No.
honestly, like, there's not a lot. I mean, honestly, like, the only thing I think we have to say is, like, thanks for everybody sticking with us, more than anything. Help as we go into the future. Oh, am I blipping out? Am I good?
Yeah,
you went robot
out a
mode.
little bit.
Awesome.
We got Jet's playlist coming up. We've got Phoenix's playlist coming up. We've got our trailer coming up. We got a bunch of really cool stuff coming up.
Cinematics, everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Look, we had a really open closed beta, right? Very public closed beta. So I think players have been along for the ride. So I don't think people are going to boot it up and go, wow, it's a completely different game. If they felt that, then we didn't do a good job in closed beta, right? Like part of it was just to get players ready for this moment to understand the game and what it had to offer. So there are going to be some beautiful new surprises in there, but it should also feel very much like the game that players have been playing for the last 2 months and waiting to play as well.
It should feel like a more polished and also, honestly, just more of what you love version of Valorant, which is a lot. So
yeah, and we say it a lot. But it is the starting line for us. Like this is not. We're not putting it in a box and walking away. Like this is the beginning. So whatever you see, this is the start of a journey we're hoping to go on for a while.
What else can you say? Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Anna. I'm sure this will not be the last time we have a conversation on ESPN Esports about the game. I'm going to let you guys go because you guys are going to have another 40 hours of staying awake as the game launches